Hi, welcome everyone. This is the third video of the series about tenses and their usage in academic research. Today's lecture is about the future, conditional, and models in research projections, and one of the most common and essential tenses in English. I am Usama Daudi, and I invite you to follow this video to get a better understanding of the correct use of these tenses, which is crucial for publishing and presenting at PhD. So let's move to the slide. So in this first slide, we're going to stretch out why studying this tense matters in research. Well, first of all, it allows us to express future outcomes, which is key when presenting a hypothesis or projecting results. Second, it helps us make logical predictions based on existing data or previous studies. It also enables us to describe hypothetical scenarios, which is useful when building theoretical models or exploring possible outcomes. And finally, it allows us to communicate uncertainty or limitations clearly, which is essential for transparency and scientific integrity. So overall, mastering this helps us strengthen the clarity, logical, and credibility of the research. Now let's look at how we use the future tense in academic research writing. The main purpose is to express projections or expected results. In other words, what we think will happen based on our study. The structure is simple. We use will plus the base form of the verb. So here let's look at the examples. The study will demonstrate a correlation between x and y. This means we expect the study to show a specific result. Example number 2, participants will be tested over a 3-month period. Here, we are clearly stating what will happen during the research timeline. So the future tense helps us talk about outcomes and actions that are planned or predicted in a precise and professional way. So let's move to this other slide. So now we're going to talk about the conditional tense, which we often use in academic writing to discuss hypothetical situations. The purpose of the conditional tense is to present outcomes or results that depend on certain conditions, meaning they might happen but only if something else happens first. The structure is would plus base verb. Here are two examples. First one, if the sample were larger, we would expect different results. This means that the result is not guaranteed. It depends on the condition of having a larger sample. The second one, this method would be effective under controlled conditions. Again, the effectiveness isn't certain, it's conditional. So using the conditional tense help us express uncertainty, caution, or theoretical thinking in a precise and professional way. So let's move to why we are using modal verbs for hypotheses and limitations. Well, this slide, it's talk, like I said, about modal verbs and how we use them to express hypotheses and limitation in academic writing. The purpose of using modal verbs here is to show different degrees of certainty, possibility, necessity, or limitations in our statements. We generally use three types of modals: may, might, and could. This express possibility. For example, we use them when we are not completely certain about a result. Must and have to. These indicate necessity, when something is required or essential. And we use should and ought to. These are used for recommendation or suggestions based on evidence or reasoning. Let's look at the examples. A result might indicate a causal link. This shows possibility. We're not saying it's definite. These findings should be interpreted with caution. Here we are recommending care in interpretation. The process must be repeated to confirm validity. This express necessity is something that has to be done. Using modal verbs help us stay objective and cautious in scientific writing. It shows our awareness of the limitation and the strength of the evidence. So let's move to comparing the three in use. So let's compare three different grammatical structures we often use in academic writing to express, as stated, predictions, conditions, and possibilities. First, we have the future tense. For example, this model will improve accuracy. The statement expresses a strong prediction or expectation about what the model is expected to do. Second is the conditional form. For instance, it will provide better insights if. Here we are talking about a possible outcome that depends on a condition being met. This is useful when we are discussing hypothetical situation. Again, this is like a recap of the slides we have seen. And finally, we have the model for possibility. It might suggest a new approach. This shows a lower level of certainty. It's more cautious and is often used when we're suggesting a potential outcome without making a definite claim. So, as you can see, the choice between these forms help us control the tone of our writing, from confident to cautious, depending on the level of certainty we want to express. And here, some tips for academic style. So, we can say important tips for maintaining a strong academic style in writing. First, try to avoid oversuing strong certainties such as using will or must, unless you are absolutely sure and can justify it. Strong claims without strong evidence can make your writing seem biased or overly confident. Second, use modals like may, might, or could to show open mindedness or scientific humility. This is especially important when discussing possibilities or interpreting results. And third, use conditionals to build logical arguments to explore alternative scenarios. For example, saying if this condition is met, then helps structure your reasoning clearly and objectively. In short, choosing the right language helps us make our writing more precise, more credible, and more aligned with academic standards. And to wrap up, here is a quick summary of key points. Use the future tense to describe what is expected. This is useful when predicting outcomes or explaining planned actions. Use the conditional form when you are talking about emergent situations or results that depends on a certain conditions. It helps you explore possibilities logically, and use models to express levels of possibility, necessity, or limitations. This shows academic caution and respect for uncertainty in research. In short, mastering these structures, future, conditional, and models, will strengthen your academic argumentation and make your writing clearer, more precise, and more credible. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next lessons.